get your brand out there in the ways that you can authentically. I'm in an earned outreach. That means I don't pay my way into outreach. So for those of you who are thinking, great, a little pitch for his company, not really. I'm in a niche, the help a reporter out niche, that is excellent for DIY specialists. It's really super for the in-house marketer or the small business owner who wants to do it themselves. You can sign up to media opportunity platforms. There's several: Help a Reporter, Featured, Help a B2B Writer, Source of Sources. Hundreds of opportunities a day to glean at least one or two for yourself. Take 15 minutes and send a decent outreach to someone. And as I said, these sites that maybe 3 years ago you would say, oh, come on, like, do I really need to be reaching out to that site right now? You'd be surprised which sites are returning in ChatGPT right now, or maybe you won't be if you get out there and start prompting, asking about your company in these tools. I would continue to put my company out there and represent my own authority and build more awareness. I'm Greg Heilers, and this is SEO in 2025, Additional Insights.
Greg, what's your additional insight for SEO in 2025?
Absolutely. Everyone's talking about the 10 blue links are dead, or at least less and less traffic. My take is it's really hard to imagine a future where investing in your brand is going to be negative ROI. So for us, that looks like continuing to do outreach, both linked and unlinked, to build your brand, not just in Google anymore, but the next generation of search.
Okay, so continue to do outreach, obviously part of it, but why is building a brand potentially more important in 2025 than it used to be from an SEO perspective?
Yeah, so we're seeing potentially the closing of an era where you could create top of funnel content, load up a bunch of keyword anchor text, backlinks to that content, and rank really high in Google search and bring in organic traffic. Potentially the end of that era. We still think that's not over yet. To offset that or to augment the traffic you're still getting, if you are focused still on keywords, we believe, and for actually several years now, Google itself has terms like brand entity, where if you're forming a brand, and this is just good marketing in general, there's a general recognition now that us SEOs are indeed in the marketing department, and we need to behave like marketers. So it's a little less transactional. We're not just going to get the quick ROI. We're playing a longer term game now. So we're focused on building a brand, not just in Google's eyes, not just in ChatGPT's eyes, but in the eyes of the consumer. And that means getting our brand out there a lot. I could keep going, but we've all heard the old marketing adage, you need to be seen, 7 times before someone can take action? This is just an extension of that in 2025.
So is building a good brand online any different to building a good brand? Because SEO, certainly historically, has been about seeing what the algorithms are doing and trying to actually ensure that we're doing the right things on site and off site to ensure that the algorithms are recognizing what the site is about and whether or not it actually wants to rank the site and the page more highly. And you could argue that building a brand for online purposes has certain technical purposes behind it or strategies behind it. But are you saying that what a good brand is offline and what it used to be is actually has completely merged and is the same as it is now to build a successful brand for SEO purposes?
I'd align a lot with that, David. I do believe that when you're portraying your own capabilities or your products, metrics or criteria, authentically, you're doing the best service, not just to the customer, but to your own company long term. So we've seen pretty much the end of the affiliate content site era, certainly the golden age of Amazon a few years ago during the pandemic. A lot of these sites existed on making content that didn't serve the end consumer, but did funnel activity towards others. And the brands, they weren't really brands. They were just shells where they funneled people through to, we've all heard things like Amazon FBA, these kind of business models. So I do think that if you are in this for the long term, it's less of a lead generation and more of a demand or brand play. So yeah, sure, we're marketers positively about our own brands, but honestly, with integrity about what you can and can't do, yeah, I do think it's a little bit going back in time if we want to say, but it's realigning. People used to write for the algorithms and then they realized, wait, we do actually need to write for people. And frankly, as a consumer, I'm grateful that we're returning to considering the end user of this content that we create.
So, what are a key lesson or two that you've learned maybe from traditional brand marketers that you haven't used historically in your SEO activities, but you're now starting to apply now?
Yeah, well, we don't do this as a service, but here's one I've seen other people do very well that I've considered. I think engaging is something we've done for ourselves, but hasn't done as a service. Engaging in social media groups. So for years, I've been involved in Facebook groups like SEO Signals or Slack-based like Traffic Think Tank. There's places where you can genuinely engage, share knowledge, and in doing so, you build your brand. People see you, recognize you. They know what you don't know because sometimes I'm wrong, but they know what you do know and can help with. And I've seen others as a service do this on platforms like Reddit. We all saw a little over a year ago now in early 2024, the Google Reddit deal spawned a whole generation of Reddit marketers that it's kind of an SEO play too, because they were ranking so high. But by influencing the Reddit platform, they're still content based, but they're helping build these brands using these platforms. So Reddit, definitely things that we didn't do as SEOs. I mean, certainly if there's no better segue than this, we're all thinking about AI visibility now. So there are a host of tools. We're now mid 2025 emerging. Not too many of them seem ready to serve an agency like Jolly SEO. So we created our own dashboard. And what we need to do now is combine our ability to use language, so natural language prompting, and seeing where do our clients show up. It's almost like you would do in the SERPs, but there just aren't the sophisticated tools yet, in my opinion, like the traditional SEO tools that exist, where you can just see rankings, right? So instead, we're prompting, engaging with it, and trying to discern how is it that our client appeared here but not here? And how can we help influence that conversation with more content externally on the web? But we also need to see that feedback loop coming. And it's early days. We're still learning a lot.
So, talking about prompting, your answer there has prompted me to think about measurements. First of all, from the perspective of engaging online on places like Reddit that you mentioned, but also within LLMs or various AI search engines. So how do you measure the value of, first of all, interacting in forums and building your brand? I think most SEOs know instinctively that it's a good thing to do, but how do you actually measure the ROI of that? And also, secondly, placement within AI search engines like Perplexity. If your brand is being surfaced there, do you measure value based upon click-through somehow, or is it just brand visibility?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think what a lot of SEOs are discussing right now in the various groups that I'm in, there's free and paid ones. You can search them out. Some awesome discussions happening is a decrease in traffic to top of funnel content. I mean, we've heard about zero-click search for years, but now when an LLM is just summarizing, or when the awesome discussions happening on Reddit, maybe they don't need to go to your site. But we're seeing an increase in branded search to your homepage. And that's not meant to hype me up as a branded outreach guy, right? That's because these people are doing such a great job on Reddit getting the brand out there that the user or consumer is doing a separate search just straight for the brand and clicking into the homepage to go look for it. So You might be able to tag properly in GA and see an increase in referral traffic from Reddit or from chat, right? But you might also just see, like many are seeing, this general trend where, my traffic to the pages I was targeting 2 years ago is way down, but my homepage, interestingly, is way up. And actually, my overall conversion sales, a lot of people are reporting like we're not suffering right now despite all this. So something's working there. And I think this has always been an eternal conflict between brand marketers and people who drive sales is how do you attribute what the value of the brand is? I would posit that you have to give some recognition to the brand marketers for playing a part in that.
I guess the challenge is, though, you're entering into some kind of fight against other marketers that also find it difficult to attribute the success of their various activities. Perhaps it's some social media marketers or more traditional radio or television marketers. So how do you know that it's more likely to be an SEO's activities that has caused the uplift in brand?
Yeah, or a podcaster, right, David? It's tough for us podcasters out there to.
Sure.
It's a great question. How do we know when it's unattributed? How do we divide that pie appropriately? This is a kind of a non-answer, to be honest, David. I'm external. I'm not in-house, but we do have enterprise clients. We do have small and medium-sized business clients. With the smaller and medium-sized businesses, usually the marketing channels are less numerous, and we have less unattributed leads to kind of divide up and understand where they're coming from. But with the enterprise, I would just, if possible, advocate in an environment that's more collaborative. And like I said, kind of a non-answer, but I would really focus on this being a team effort right now, that we actually don't know what is working or going to work. Now, that doesn't help you when your C-suite or your controller is like, this line item or this person needs to go. So I just want to say, I understand that's a non-answer, but I think in this environment of uncertainty, I personally believe anyone who says they actually know how to rank in LLMs guaranteed. I mean, maybe they found a hack I'm not aware of for today, but how can we say that's going to be what's working tomorrow? So I'd pull together and do all the things that have an inclination they are helping, but not necessarily go for like, that was me, definitely not you, you're worthless. This is where the value is right now.
Are there certain SEO activities that we should do to make it more likely that we rank more effectively in LLMs? I'm thinking perhaps featuring images or more text or more mentions of the brand or better positioning of the brand. Are there different schema, for instance, that we can use in our web pages, or different ways of going about how to structure format the text on our pages to make it a nicer bite-sized chunk for LLMs to consume? What are one or two ways that SEOs can do in order to actually maximize their exposure, their brand exposure within the LLMs?
Yeah, absolutely. I myself have been interviewing people on this topic, trying to glean what I can. And so the best that I have heard from the last couple of people I've interviewed, Roni Calvo at We Do SEO and Dmitry Dragilev at Topic Ranker, basically the traditional SOP checklists are still by and large applicable. It's just that we need a few extra steps added. And that's where I say, I think we're still feeling our way. But me as an offsite guy, I'll focus on what can you do offsite. I know you mentioned schema and there's other areas we could get into, but as an offsite guy, one thing that's really interesting, as I said, we're building our own AI visibility dashboard for clients, and we're seeing an early returns from all the prompt data we're getting is kind of the return of relevancy or importance of lower tier websites. Now we have a certain pretty high bar because we do earned link building, not paid, but bear with me. There's a certain tier that I personally thought were falling out of utility. Sites in the 2,000 organic traffic range monthly, sites in the like DR 55, domain rating 55, excuse me. I thought, what's the utility here long term? Are these sites going to be worth? But sites like that are getting returned in responses to prompt. So as I said, I'm still early in this, but that would be my best answer right now is I think continuing to get a footprint out there on the internet where you have a chance of landing. And again, as an earned link builder, I still say you do outreach, try to contribute authentically. And these sites may still mention your brand, link back to your website, and that may help you show up in a higher percentage of responses.
You're still feeling your way, and many SEOs are still feeling their way in terms of what they need to do in order to optimize for LLMs. So how often does an SEO need to review their strategy for trying to conduct this optimization? Because if things are changing so often, if LLMs are changing a lot, opportunities are changing a lot, do they have to methodically review what's going on a monthly basis, for instance, to ensure that they're taking advantage of as many opportunities as possible?
Yeah, life isn't fair, right? So here's my not fair answer. I think as frequently as you have bandwidth right now, I don't think we're in a place, and I think a lot of people feel this way, not just about the individual in-house SEO, although certainly, but agencies. We believe we're literally in an evolutionary bottleneck right now, or heading into one. And the ones who are going to emerge, I certainly hope my company, Jolly SEO, is on the other side of this when I hear this podcast a few years from now, and I'm not crying. But it's as much as we have bandwidth to devote to this next phase. Whether personally, I don't think Google's losing that much market share that rapidly. I still think we need to stay very much in touch with what's working on Google, but I don't think LLMs are it's a little pocket of moment here. I think consumers are shifting that way. And whether it's a specific company, I think developing a skill in understanding this as much as you've got bandwidth. So if you're an in-house team and you've got a whole extra person to become the internal specialist, awesome. If you're like me, where pretty much everyone is fully allocated, well, I'm just trying to carve out a few hours of my week. Ask this person, can you carve out a few hours of your week, and collectively see how much knowledge we can build together. I'm also asking my clients. I'm also reaching out to fellow agency owners. I'm pretty much everywhere I can get input, and then the classic, look for the signal.
Well, evolutionary bottleneck wins the phrase of the day so far. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. It's still early in your day.
Greg, what's the key takeaway from the tip you shared today?
Thanks, David. So for me, the key takeaway, get your brand out there in the ways that you can authentically. I'm in an earned outreach. That means I don't pay my way into outreach. So for those of you who are thinking, great, a little pitch for his company, not really. I'm in a niche, the help a reporter out niche, that is excellent for DIY specialists. It's really super for the in-house marketer or the small business owner who wants to do it themselves. You can sign up to media opportunity platforms. There's several: Help a Reporter, Featured, Help a B2B Writer, Source of Sources. Hundreds of opportunities a day to glean at least one or two for yourself. Take 15 minutes and send a decent outreach to someone. And as I said, these sites that maybe 3 years ago you would say, oh, come on, do I really need to be reaching out to that site right now? You'd be surprised which sites are returning in ChatGPT right now, or maybe you won't be if you get out there and start prompting, asking about your company in these tools. I would continue to put my company out there and represent my own authority and build more awareness.
Greg Heilers is the co-founder at Jolly SEO, and you can find him over at jollyseo.com. Greg, thanks so much for adding your additional insight to SEO in 2025.
Thank you for having me, David.
I've been your host, David Bain, and you've been listening to SEO in 2025 Additional Insights, a Majestic series that complements the original podcast, video series, and book. Find out more at SEOin2025.com.